She's Katie Montgomery. He's Justin Joseph. These best friends are serving subpoenas to bad advice weekly with Wrong Way Forward, the advice column reboot you never knew you needed. Sparks fly, and so does the hilarity. Now, here's Katie and Justin.
So, Justin, it's episode 2.
Episode 2, great accomplishment.
Great accomplishment, Wrong Way Forward. We celebrated, and I'm going to be honest, because I can't be anything but honest. We went and had 3 drinks at lunch.
So let's just tell the whole story. So we decided when we were going to do this, we're going to come in town and shoot the first 5 episodes together.
Correct. And it has really been so much fun. It takes me back to our college days. And we have moved up a little bit in the world. We used to eat at Chili's.
Yeah, 100%.
And now we're at Hill Snow.
And I would have fajitas for days.
And you also had a side of blue cheese.
And gained like 20 pounds in college. What do they call it, freshman 20?
Yeah, but we used to call you tight khakis.
Yeah, I really did fill out every literal.
I mean, I filled out everything too. So.
And as a gay person, like, looks matter, but for some reason in college, I didn't care.
I mean, I think
now I would die if I wore those pants.
Would you?
Yeah, yes. Would you not?
I mean, I did in college when you wore them.
So we had a few drinks at lunch.
Yes, we did.
We weren't supposed to.
We were supposed to have 1.
Yeah. Well,
and then 1 became 2, and 2 became 3.
And so here we are with our second episode of Wrong Way Forward.
Wrong Way Forward.
And we're going to talk about this week's advice. So we're going to read a few viewer emails from our last episode.
It's pretty funny, the feedback that we're getting.
Yeah, and I feel like it's way more critical of you than me, but we'll get there.
Really?
I don't know. We'll see.
I really thought that you were going to be the most hated man in America.
Well, that's going to take like 10 episodes.
Okay, well, we can do that. We're very gold driven.
So this week we're going to take on the advice of literally one of the most beloved people in Hollywood. Would you agree?
I mean, I've read her book. I follow her. I want to be her. I want her to be one of my best friends. I want to be in her posse. So I'm feeling a little guilty now. But this advice really struck me as wrong way forward.
Okay. Well, so it's Amy Poehler.
Yes.
And I think I would step aside from you. So when we start talking about this and you brought up her as a potential person that we want to, talk about her advice, this advice is literally from, it's got 72,000 views. It's literally, I think when I looked at it the first time, it's from, give me a second here. It is from date 12 years ago. So this is before she was even a thing.
No, she was a thing.
12 years ago?
Yes. I mean, Amy Poehler's pretty amazing, y'all. I mean, like, she was a co-host of, the news segment on Saturday Night Live. She had Parks and Recreation. And I want to be fair to her. This was a really great idea, was to give young girls kind of who are moving into kind of adulthood and going through those kind of awkward years some advice. It was like smart advice for smart girls.
No, I don't disagree with you in the slightest, but I think watching this for 12 years, she wasn't nearly as big as she is now. I mean, 12 years ago, I guarantee she was just on Saturday Night Live. So my point in this is she wasn't out broke. She's giving out advice. That alone is wrong way forward, as you and I proceed to give out advice.
Yes, exactly. For us, because here is Oprah, and I don't think the camera goes as low as I can possibly go to where we are in giving advice.
Those are what the viewer emails I'm about to read pretty much sets up from last week's advice. No. All right, so let's stop by talking about Amy Poehler's advice from last week.
Hi, welcome to Ask Amy. This question does not have a name, but it says, I really like this guy. We have a lot in common, but I don't think he knows about my feelings. I'm sort of shy, but I want to be with him. What do I do?
All right, so let's stop there and just set up the premise of the question. First, why are you asking Amy Poehler this? Or you want me just to go?
Well, I mean, I think the bigger question is this poor thing can't even create a fake name for her question. There's no name attached to it.
There's not.
So I think everyone's out of their realm just giving advice.
And furthermore, the name of this is Amy Poehler Smart Girls, because she's about to make a girl locked up with this answer.
Justin, I kind of hate that response. I'm like,
well,
I think as a girl, and I just don't think that everybody loves smart girls. I think it is great that she was helping smart girls.
We can agree on that, but literally the whole reason we chose this advice is we both thought, what dumb advice.
Yeah, but smart people can ask for dumb advice.
No, I'm not commenting on the girl.
I mean, I've asked you for advice before.
Yeah, and it's always been brilliant. Here we go. Setting up Amy Poehler's response to the question, I really like this guy, what do I do? Amy's response is?
Well, my advice to you would be to Tell him that you like him.
Do you want to stop there or you want to hear more?
I mean, I think we should be fair and share everything.
Because the initial is like, that's just not the right answer across the board. But let's hear what she says.
Life is short. And go for it. Why not?
What's the worst that can happen? I mean, let's just apply that singular piece of advice to any broad spectrum. What's the worst that can happen? A million.
She could be made fun of. She could be catfished. It could go on social media.
She could be bullied.
She could be bullied. She could be stuck in her locker for the rest of, eternity. She could literally never want to go back to school again.
So could we never, in this whole podcast, whether it lasts next week and it's over, or
yes.
next year, can we never ever say what's the worst that could happen? Because that is the worst advice ever, and the wrong way forward to ever say what's the worst that could happen.
I mean, I'm not ready yet to commit, Justin, because who knows? I mean, there's a lot of bad advice out there. But what's the worst that could happen? That's the least of our worries. I mean, I think, first of all, being attorneys is where's the due diligence here?
Ooh, say more.
Well, I mean, when I'm going to go harken back to like 7th and 8th grade. And this was before, texting and cell phones. We wrote notes, paper notes. And paper notes could be found.
Yeah.
And they could be spread and passed and photocopied.
And you're talking about like paper notes, like, do you like me? Check yes or check no.
Or even if I was writing a best friend a note, I'd be like, oh my gosh, number 50 looks so cute today.
Number 50?
Yes.
I don't get it. Number 50?
Number 50 was the code word for Richard Upchurch. I hope you're not listening in 7th and 8th grade because I was.
Why did you have to say is Richard Upchurch listening? Why didn't it be number 50?
He was number 50 in my notes. So if anyone ever found the note, there could be no trace and no connection. And so what I could do is do some due diligence, have some conversations, figure out a few things. I think going in is the new term raw dogging. I don't know what that term is.
Do you actually know what that is?
Those are those people who get on the airplanes and like don't read a book and they don't watch a movie and they just sit in their seat for like 8 hours.
Okay, can we just run that by the ChatGPT truth test? Because I don't think that's no. Raw dogging by ChatGPT it refers to having sex without a condom. You know that? Is it raw dogging? You're raw dogging on air.
Okay, I want to literally. Can we stop recording now? The point. And did you not hear about people raw dogging on these flights?
I don't think we're going. No, I know you're talking. This is not on the rundown.
Okay.
Raw dogging does not appear in the rundown.
Okay. My point is that before you do something bold, and
or you're raw dog.
Yes. Oh God. Now I don't ever use the term again, Justin. Don't. Remember, I'm Southern and people are listening to this in Mississippi.
For the record, you used the RD word.
But I didn't know what RD meant. I thought RD meant getting on a plane and not reading a book or watching a movie.
For real.
Wait, for real. I don't like that for real.
Okay.
My point is this, is that before you do something bold, you got to do your homework. And there has to be a little of, due diligence and kind of get the lay of the land before you go so bold.
Love it. How do you say it to a 5th grader or a 3rd grader will ask this question? She doesn't know what DD is. She doesn't know what raw dogging is.
I mean, I hope not.
But how does the 3rd grader, or for any matter,
so
what does that mean?
Not a 3rd grader reaching out. This is let's at least get into the realm of where we're not in uncomfortable zone.
Okay.
Let's say middle school. Let's say we're talking about kind of 7th, 8th grade.
Okay.
I think if a 7th or 8th grader came up to me and said, I like someone, I'd be like, that's fantastic. Let's walk through what are potential things that you're seeing where it might be reciprocated.
Okay. So give me an example of what that would look like.
So
a second look, a sit by me at lunch.
Having conversations. Is there banter? Are there jokes? Do you have something special between you?
Yeah.
What does chemistry look like? I think that's what's interesting about the advice is I don't have any problem with women being bold and putting out there what they want.
Have you ever been bold and put out what you wanted with a guy?
Absolutely not, but I'm 51 and single.
And this would be a great setup for when we come back. So there was a gay version of this exact advice And when I came out at 24, there was literally something called Mailbox Mondays where you got to do these due diligence that you're talking about and put yourself out there. We're going to talk about that and how that applies to anyone who may be looking for their next person and want to not raw dog. We'll talk about all that when we get back. We'll be right back.
Sounds good.
You've been listening to Wrong Way Forward, where bad advice goes to die and then gets resurrected just so we can roast it again.
That's right, Katie. Nobody's off limits, not the gurus, not the influencers, and definitely not Oprah.
Sorry, Oprah.
If you're enjoying the chaos, hit like and subscribe and come back every Thursday for new episodes.
Have a new topic or some disastrously bad advice you want to dissect? Email wrongwayforwardpodcast@gmail.com. Include your contact info.
Now back to Wrong Way Forward.
Roasting the worst advice ever. Welcome back to the Katy and Justin podcast.
Yeah,
Yes.
just be
Raw dogging.
raw dogging.
Legit, the raw
Before we
dogging.
got on camera, you didn't know what raw dogging was?
Like, the raw dog these days, travelers have all kinds of options to keep them entertained during a flight. Netflix, blah, blah, blah. So in this golden age, the trend is called raw dog in a flight. It usually means foregoing any flight perks. No in-flight entertainment, no snacks or beverages from the court. You didn't get beverage.
So you did not know raw dogging was sex without a condom?
What? How did you not know that raw dogging wasn't happening on flights?
And we're back. And thank you for getting that outtake. We usually wait for our commercial break, but I put Katie in camera because she literally said to me, we're waiting for our camera. Raw dogging really means sex without a condom. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. You don't know that.
But I want to, Justin, this is what drives me crazy about you. I was not talking about the term raw dogging. I was talking about the viral trend of viral. That's gross when I'm talking about raw dogging. But now that I know what it means, but raw dogging on flights, which is not taking advantage of any of the in-flight amenities. You can't have a ginger ale. You can't watch a movie.
I maybe that's right, but ChatGPT and Justin Joseph do not agree. Raw dogging to me has always had a very sexual, and again, I didn't know that was the exact definition. But so I had a very sexual. Never was involved in Netflix and United Airlines.
Well, it does now, Justin. And so you're antiquated now.
All right. So coming back, we're talking about bad advice. We're talking about Amy Poehler. She got a lovely question from who knows how old this girl was, but the question was, I like this guy. Did I tell him? And Amy Poehler's advice says, yeah, put it all out there. And we both think that's the wrong way forward.
Okay, so you mentioned when you came out at 24, there was a service.
Yeah, because back in those days, things like online apps were just coming out. And so if you were gay and young, you would go to this place. And they would do mailbox Mondays where you walked and you got a number and you could literally write down, you type on number 51 or whatever, whoever Richard, whatever his name was.
Sure.
But you still clearly have issues.
No, I don't at all. I don't at all.
You remember his name, you remember his number. That's weird.
It was 2 years in 7th, 8th grade. I wrote his number down quite a bit.
It's obviously been impactful. So if my Richard Upchurch number 50 would have come along at the nightclub, you would write to number 50 and would go to mailbox and they had remember the projectors, the screen projectors?
Yes.
And they put number 50, they brought all the numbers who had mailbox, who had a note. And that person would go up and read the note. And it'd be like, I think you're cute.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, you're wearing a pink shirt. It's cute. You got too many buttons undone. Whatever. I'm kidding. No, I mean, you're raw dogging.
Okay. I just want for the YouTube, because thank God most people are listening to this on Spotify. I asked him about this shirt, and everyone who knows me knows that I do not put anything out there. I am a good girl from Mississippi, and I am not.
You said raw dogging on air for the second episode.
Justin, it's about the travel trick.
So anyway, back to Mailbox Mondays. I think that's part of the due diligence. If I found something attractive, I probably had seen that person out and about. I could have Mailbox Mondayed him.
Yeah.
And if he didn't write back to number 12 or whatever sad number I was, probably number 2 because I was the same person before. He didn't write. If number 2 didn't come up on the screen, maybe number 1, maybe I was first in line.
Yes.
Then you knew you'd done your due diligence, and he was not interested.
Yeah. So I think there is a little bit to be said about before the bold gestures. Let's do a little, kind of, evidence gathering and kind of get an idea. And also, isn't there something to be said about? Isn't there a way to say, I like you without saying, I like you?
So I think that's great. Let's talk about, because we're going to have listeners of all ages. Is there a difference between if you're, let's say, grade school, high school versus 20 to 30 versus 50? Does doing your due diligence mean different things at different ages?
I think so, right? I mean, and I think when you are in, or what I remember in 7th and 8th grade is it was constant. I mean, you were in school 40 hours a week, you know, and that's not including after school activities and dances and seeing people at church and on the weekends. You are constantly involved in that.
Do you have any stories you remember from those grades that were traumatizing? I mean, obviously I do. I wouldn't be leaving such.
I mean, of course, traumatizing, but I also remember things that I would think now of putting myself out there.
Such as,
You know, I was raised a Catholic. My best friend was a Baptist, and they would have these weekend events called Disciple Now, and they were so much fun. And you would go to like a family would host all of the seventh graders, and all the seventh graders at a particular church can invite a friend. And I just remember being so excited to go because you're all staying in the same house. It's boys and girls. It's like the age of a lock-in. Did you ever go to a lock-in? Oh, it's when they locked you in the gym and you were all there together and it was overnight. It was exciting. But I remember going and they had this kind of affirmation piece. And I remember affirming Richard Upchurch because I wanted to affirm everything he did.
Really? What was it about him? Because I'll tell you my story. I remember the first time I ever thought I would maybe gay is I remember my mom would send us to CCD, Catholic,
yes,
continuing education or Catholic. And I was all of, 8 years old. And there was this high schooler student who coordinated it or, were there, they run everything. And I just had such a crush on him.
Yeah.
So clearly he was my Richard Upchurch.
Yeah, but you were 8. I was 13.
What difference does that make?
Because an 8-year-old shouldn't have a crush on a 13, 14-year-old.
You never had a crush when you were 8 years old?
I mean, I did, but I'm like, let's use another example.
Okay, let's.
But my point is that we went through and did affirmations, and I affirmed him. And so it was to get kind
of... I think you affirmed him.
Yeah, I mean, no.
What is Richard Upchurch doing to this day? We'll probably have to edit out his name. R.A. What's R.A. doing to R.U.?
R.U. And you know what? I really, for a while he was making some kind of music boxes, but I don't really have an idea.
Well, here's the tease. We have Richard Upchurch on the line. Let's go. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no. But my point is that there's little things that you can do to kind of get some kind of confirmation. Let's also, Justin, talk about this. You're going to be 52 soon.
Yeah.
I'll be 51 6 months later. 52 6 months later, excuse me. As that we didn't have social media. Yeah. We didn't have these sites. We didn't have email. We didn't have all of these ways. And, we've just talked about this famous Netflix documentary that just came out about catfishing and how an actual parent catfished her own daughter. And it's like, so I think there has to be some level of protection there before you might be so emboldened, because, people can be cruel, and it is so much easier to be cruel online and anonymous than it is in person.
And let's also expand that to our 40-year-old listeners who are literally doing the same thing. People can still be cruel, but it's a different level of due diligence that you do. I mean, I think at that age, the guards are up.
And I actually would argue differently. I think at lunch we were talking about this, is that at 50, you become more set in your ways and your value system is a little bit more defined and you know what you like and don't like. And so it might be easier to actually be very emboldened and say, I like or don't like you. And you also have built resilience through experiencing failure at that point. So the hurt or the consequences aren't as extreme.
And I love that we talked about at lunch, and I love everybody's feedback on this. When you're young, you probably are 95.5. You want 95 perfection, maybe get 5%. When you're in your 30s, it goes to maybe 80-20 because you're starting to lay your guard down. But what's really interesting, I think, about the continuum, as you get older, it does go back to 95.5 because you're okay being alone. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, and I want to stress that the word's not alone is like, at a certain age that you've developed really great friendships with your siblings and your parents. You've developed it with coworkers and other people, and you are not alone. And that's one thing that really bothers me is this general assumption. It's the concept of splitting, putting in like black or white. It's like you're either alone or you're attached. Whereas there are some people who are attached and are incredibly alone. And there are some people who are alone and are incredibly, engaged and have a sense of community.
Mm-hmm. And I think this, I don't want to get into pop culture too much, but and Just Like That, which was widely panned. Did you watch him Just Like That?
I did all the seasons.
Widely panned, and I think that was for my generation. I watched all of them.
Yep.
I thought it caught its wind in this last year, but I really think the way they ended it was remarkable. Even though again they caught a ton of bad criticism. She said in the end, I think the last line was, "She was not alone; she was on her own."
Yep.
And I thought that was really impactful.
Agreed. And I think kind of going back to kind of Amy Poehler's advice is a nice piece of advice to have been is do your due diligence. If you feel comfortable based on kind of the evidence you've taken in, you can go ahead and say this. But if it doesn't work out, it's not what's the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing that can happen is that exactly what Sarah Jessica Parker says in that very last line. And I'd love you just to repeat that again.
The line was, she was not alone, she was on her own.
Yes. And so being on your own is not a negative. That would have been a nice kind of, footnote to Amy Poehler's advice.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about two things. Every third segment in our show, we're going to talk, there's a segment literally called, Can We Talk About That?
Yes.
Because we're going to talk about something that doesn't have to be advice, is something that we need to talk about. So we're going to do that in segment 3 of our show. But first, we're going to revisit last episode. And for those of you who may have listened, it was the restaurant episode where Katy had very different takes on how you get upsold at a restaurant versus cheap wine, et cetera, et cetera. This is your teaser, and I just want to read it as we go to break. It says, I listened to your account of what happened at dinner, and I have to say, I am siding with Justin on this one. We're going to talk about why viewers are siding with me and why you're wrong and why what you said was the wrong way forward. We're going to talk about that when we come back. We'll be back in a moment.
Thanks for streaming Wrong Way Forward, the weekly reminder that advice is usually free for a reason. We call out bad advice wherever it hides, boardrooms, break rooms, and even book clubs.
Enjoying this dumpster fire? Like, subscribe, and check back every Thursday for new episodes. Want us to roast your favorite piece of nonsense? Email us at wrongwayforwardpodcast@gmail.com. Be sure to include your contact info. We're not psychic, just judgmental. And now, back to Wrong Way Forward.
Roasting the worst advice ever. Welcome back to the Katy and Justin podcast.
So we're back, and I think what we're going to do now is thank you so much for some of you who've listened to our first episode and gave us some feedback. We have a few questions. And Justin thinks he's always right.
And can I just say thank you for the feedback who said that I was right in the last episode. That's the feedback I appreciate most. It's most meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, of course it is, but my guess is that you're only going to share that.
Yeah, I mean, like literally that's framed on my wall already upstairs.
Of course.
In my dressing room, which is in my bed.
Yes.
But whatever.
Okay, keep going.
So this episode, segment 3, we'd like to talk about, can we talk about that? But before, you want to get there first, or you want to talk about last episode?
Hey, we talked about the last episode and finish with the other.
Why don't you summarize where we were with last episode?
Last episode, we all went out to dinner. Justin became a little self-righteous in response to the waitress and some options of cheap wine that were actually not available. And it made some of us really uncomfortable at the table. Justin, I think you landed on, I'm not going to compromise my principle for the relationships I have at the table that really matter.
Right.
And my response was, is this really, are you going to die on that hill, or are you going to spend the time and energy with the people who are most important?
Yeah. And I think the last thing I said, which I stand by, is, you know what, if standing by my principles means Katy Montgomery is a little uncomfortable, so be it. And let's go to some viewer emails, which I think kind of agree with me. And of course, I'm cherry picking here.
Yes. Okay. Let's share one.
I mean, I had to get through a lot to find something that was supportive of you, but here's what you. I was surprised to hear you bring up your Southern roots and that Justin made you uncomfortable. While I appreciate your feelings, it seems a disproportionate reaction to the situation. Justin's core values are being challenged, and a true friend would understand that some things are more important than a momentary social comfort. I think she proves my point.
Well, I think what she's forgetting is that we literally.
And it may be a he, by the way.
Correct.
She signed AF, or he signed AF.
Okay, so AF, what AF is probably not referencing there is we only see each other in person at most 2 to 3 times a year. And so I think if we were taking bets in Vegas, which Justin is an expert at that stuff, I think people would bet on my side.
Oh my God, here's my favorite. I got 3 viewer emails that I'd like to highlight. This one's my favorite. It's easy to get carried away when telling a story, but Justin's account felt more grounded in the facts. That's like taking a bullet for people. Since I am the I'm a hyperbolist of the group.
Well, I'd like to also state that in our last episode, you like to refer to me as a drama queen, and I played into that.
Okay, fair.
So that might be a little skewed, reader. What's those initials?
Those initials are an unbiased observer.
Okay, again.
Would you like to read any of yours?
Well,
Or did you not get any that were supportive?
Well, I think what's interesting is people want to really know what's going on. And I think what's interesting is people want to know, Justin, and it may be ridiculous, but I do think it's pretty funny. Can you elaborate on your feelings about expensive wine and why you don't feel like it's worth it?
Well, look, I mean, I feel like we just talk about wine generally. Like, unless you're getting into 400 or 500 bottles, generally a $100 bottle of wine is going to taste the same, and maybe feel different. You drink a lot of wine.
I do, but you skew the facts. It was not $100 bottle of wine. It was the second.
It was $89. There was $69.
It was $60. Dude, you love to exaggerate. You love to exaggerate. People out there want to know why you were drinking piss at a nice restaurant.
And I think you're still screaming around the fact that I said you like to drink a lot of wine. You just passed over that.
You know what? It's okay.
I'm sweating now. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So I really think that we should get to this last segment, because what we are going to share has not just been ticking you off and me off.
Yeah.
I mean, the internet is a roar over this.
And let me just say, you know me. I mean, what we're about to talk about is maybe you said it not, but I was at a baseball game last week, and you get foul balls, and I mean, aside from me like hiding because I have a fear of life of getting hit by one, that's a children's moment.
100%. And I think, when does it come to where people just can't live in the moment? Like, whatever happened to kind of like, what is that famous Creedence Clearwater Revival song? It's about like stealing home and like Americana and feeling it. And instead,
that's what baseball is.
People are so caught up in where is the prize? Where is the famous, like Instagram post? Why aren't we just living in the moment and letting kids having this moment of summer and enjoyment?
And it's a great setup for this. This is from KTLA Newscast out of Los Angeles. I think he does a nice job of summarizing it. We'll come back and talk about it on the other side.
Yeah. An update on the internet's newest villain, the woman that they call Philly's Karen. Home run into the stands at the Phillies Marlin game on Friday sent fans scrambling, hot potato, like everybody's at a barbecue, and then suddenly, is that a cat? Whose cat is that? I don't know, just get it. So a dad scooped up the ball, took it back to his son, and then a woman races over and confronts the dad and demands the ball.
What?
From the child.
What is wrong with this person?
Eventually, the dad gives in and ends up handing over the ball. Some are defending her. One commenter said she's a sweet old woman and dad took advantage of her lack of agility. The ball landed, I guess, near her.
Okay, so
that happened to me once.
Okay, so people are saying that she was closer and she should have gotten it.
Firstly, she has the worst jeans I've ever seen on, and I would never want to be pictured from behind with those jeans on. So,
well,
aside from that,
I didn't pay that much attention to it, but we talk about the wrong way forward, which clearly the Phillies Karen. But I do want to note that the right way forward was the father. The father was surprised by the interaction, and in order to diffuse the situation, handed the ball to her and said, just go with it.
And not to surprise you, I will take the exact opposite side. I think that's totally wrong, because the father literally threw his hand up and gave her the ball. It shouldn't surprise you that I would have punched her in her face. Not really. But I would have stood my ground and said, I'm sorry, whoever you are. This is my son's ball. You are not. I would have been much meaner than that.
And I have to tell you, but I think being seen in front of a child is saying things. This is it's not that important.
It was a teaching moment.
It's a teaching moment. But I think what is really interesting about this, and we also saw this at the U.S. Open with the CEO who grabbed, like.
For those who didn't see it, explain that.
So a child was in line along with some other people to get some swag from some players who were signing balls and signing hats, and handed something, and the adult CEO grabbed it rather than the kid who it was intended for. And I think the bigger thing about the wrong way forward here is that literally, why are we putting such importance on a small good like this? Why is this like the end all be all? And, and the thing that's really funny is in both of these cases, the right way forward was both of those organizations, both MLB and the USTA, responded, and those children both had a better experience afterwards because they remedied the situation.
I say vomit on that. Wrong advice. I disagree. I think the father should have stood his ground, kept the ball, and I think if they would have done what you're talking about and had the MLB step in and give this child a consolation prize, it teaches the child the wrong lesson. The lesson is you stand up for what is right. And this father should have stood up and said, that's my son's ball. He's keeping it, and you can go F-O, and you all know what that means.
Yes, and I think the bigger thing is that we are not going to fight. We are a sense of community. There is certain, plans that we form together where we are not going to act out. And you know what? It is a ball. There are things that are more important.
So interesting. I really did not expect us to disagree on this. And we for those out there, we try not to talk about this before.
Yeah.
I thought we were on the same side on this. I disagree.
No, I would have given the ball back.
And I would have kept it because my son needs to see there are things we're fighting for. And an ugly, nasty person, not a woman here, but an ugly, nasty person doesn't get a win just because they're ugly and nasty.
And
when it flies in the face of my lions.
Exactly. And for me, I think it's a bigger thing. It's like, decorum matters. It's these are goods. These are not things that are worth kind of dying on the vine for. And I think at that point, I think that father handled himself with such grace. And at the end of the day, him handling himself with grace, think about if that played out further, he might not have won the benefit of most of the internet, and also the MLB, where that kid got to later get a goodie bag and meet with the player.
Well, did that happen?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, but let me just change the scenario, and we've got only a few minutes left.
Yeah.
Your niece who you adore, Mary Luckett.
And Luckett.
And Luckett. Your niece who you adore, Ann Luckett. You adore her.
Yes.
You were at a concert, and her favorite artist was Adele, and Adele threw out a T-shirt, and this happened in that scenario, and you knew how much Ann Luckett loved Adele, and she caught the T-shirt, and some nasty person came up and demanded it. Would that have changed your calculus because it was your niece who you love and adore and you have for?
No, I would have said, you know what? We don't resort to, this is not a fight worth fighting for, and we'll make it up. And they're nasty people, and let them have this, because I really hope if Adele's concert and a T-shirt is the prize in your life, it ain't looking good for your future.
All right. Well, this is interesting because, again, I expect us to agree on this, but this will be the first of many times where we see the world differently and not surprising.
Exactly.
We'll wait for your viewer emails on this one, and we'll see how they land.
Exactly. And so just to kind of wrap up, because it's time to go, we want to again thank you all for being here. We would love for you, if you have not yet followed, please follow. If you have enjoyed this, we'd love for you to give us a review. And again, if you have any bad advice or anything that you've seen out there, please drop us an email at wrongwayforwardpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Love to hear from you in the next episode. We're going to take on the advice of one of America's most beloved. Beloved? Is it beloved or beloved?
I say beloved, but she's not beloved by me, but she's beloved by you.
She's beloved by me. We're going to take on advice of literally one of the country's leading advice givers, I would say.
Correct. I do agree with that.
And we're going to tell you why she was 100% wrong in her advice.
Yeah, Wrong Way Forward.
We'll see you next week on Wrong Way Forward.
Thanks.
All right, that's a wrap on this week's episode of Wrong Way Forward. Remember, the only thing worse than taking bad advice is giving it.
If you've liked what you've heard, like, subscribe, or follow us wherever you stream podcasts. And if you've got a topic or need some advice we'll probably regret giving, email us at wrongwayforwardpodcast@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Wrong Way Forward.